Digitalization has transformed every sector in recent years. The implementation of technologies like artificial intelligence and automation have streamlined processes, improved data accuracy, and allowed businesses in every industry, including logistics, to become more efficient. Look at how COVID acted as a catalyst for accelerating digital improvements within logistics and supply chain industries, and how through use of APIs, adoption of SaaS solutions enables businesses to benefit from the latest developments. To meet your customers' unique needs, you need to move fast and create innovative, easy-to-use technology solutions while streamlining your cargo operations and managing reliable and efficient delivery. Hello, everyone. I am Reggie John, and this is Logistic Tech Dialogues presented by Kale Logistics Solutions. This is our weekly dialogue on innovations and technologies that make logistics move faster and deliver better. Logistics Tech Dialogues is brought to you in partnership with Kale Logistics Solutions, a trusted global logistics IT solutions provider for several Fortune 500 companies worldwide. My guest today is Rory Fidler, Vice President Cargo Technology at Menzies Aviation. Rory joined Menzies Aviation earlier this year to take up a new position created by the global company that provides ground handling, cargo, fueling, executive services, and offline services. Before taking up the current role, Rory spent 13 years with Etihad Airways in various senior roles and has been responsible for the digital transformational program of Etihad Cargo and introduced several creative, best-in-class, cutting-edge digital solutions to offer the highest levels of efficiency and productivity. Rory joins me in this episode of Logistic Tech Dialogues on what he plans to do at Menzies Aviation and how technology and digital solutions are emerging as the most critical part of air cargo companies now and in the future. Rory, welcome to Logistic Tech Dialogues. Such a pleasure to have you.
Morning, Raji. It's nice to meet you again. We're still online, but always a pleasure. How are you?
I'm good, Rory. Let's just get into the questions. As I said in my introduction, in February this year, you joined Menzies, so to take up a new role created by the company, and the role is VP Cargo Technology. What have you been up to in the last 8 months?
Well, having spent a long time at the other side of the fence, the first thing that I've been doing over the first period is just really trying to understand the business. I've been having, obviously, not easy to travel around the business, but building the internal network, understanding the types of systems that people are using, the shortages, the positives, the negatives, speaking to our suppliers, obviously a critical part of the jigsaw, understanding specifically within regionals, countries. You know, Menzies has cargo operations in 55 different airports, 14 countries, and we have plans to grow that to 100 by 2024. So it's the first time that the organisation has had a VP of technology, and it's just understanding where we are in terms of capability at the moment. This has kept me busy, as well as some day-to-day operational matters that I've been looking into.
Rory, I'm sure that like 8 months have actually you must have spent to understand what the current status of the technology at Menzies. As the head of cargo technology, what are your priority areas for Menzies across markets and geographies from 55 right now to 100, 110 by 2024? It's a big task ahead.
Yeah. Very much so, and I think it's all about capability. Is to understand where we are now and what good looks like, where we want to get to, and it's all the S's. Scalability. Do we have solutions that work in our larger stations, Miami, Heathrow, as well as Winnipeg, which has a very different type of requirement. Do we have suppliers that we have trusted suppliers who we've worked with? There's no point, the days of a customer supplier relationship are finished. It's all about partnerships. It's all about working with people and understanding how they operate, how they deliver software, and building on those relationships. It's about support, a worldwide network. I think we're currently in something of the region of 14 countries. These technologies and these applications are complex, and because they're very much process driven. If there is a problem and something goes wrong, someone who feels a long way away from the centre must be able to get support, must be able to get help on how to get around a problem. And they may have some local requirements, whether they be customs or handlers that need to be dealt with. And to do that, we need to simplify, and create standards. Because for our customers to have a core system, the same reports, the same operations, we Menzify so many things in this company, and it's important that to support that level of growth, that we can do that with our systems. And the last thing, more and more important every single day, the final S is sustainability. What can we do to use technology for? And for me, sustainability is not just about electric GSEs or cutting paper, but it's employee well-being. How can we use technology to make things easier? And we touch upon that later in the conversation, I think.
Yes, we'll come back to sustainability and how the broader aspects of sustainability. But Rory, technology is a very broad term, and it's being very loosely kind of used at technology adoption. But there are several aspects to it. How serious are your considerations to implement these technology solutions? And I just picked maybe like automation and robotics in cargo handling to bring in cost and operational efficiencies. And we will touch upon the sustainability part and employee welfare maybe later in the conversation.
I'm a great one for not delivering technology for technology's sake, Raj, because, the fundamental thing that you have to get right is the process and the data and the flow. If you just force technology down the business users' throats, then they don't use it. The adoption is low. So it has to be hand in hand. Technology delivered that makes lives easier is a very positive thing. Technology that is delivered, which isn't adhered to, which isn't seen as being a positive, people won't adopt it. They'll just keep going the old ways. And, we've all heard the stories that people move on to handheld scanning, and then suddenly the ULD is full of scanners and they've all been sent to, to another country and nobody can find them. So for me, to roll this technology out, I'm a great believer in proof of concepts. So you ask about, how serious we are. Our plan is to set up an innovation space in two of our big airports, probably Heathrow and Sydney, where we work with slightly different suppliers. So we may startups, innovation people, get something up and running in that environment, which is a bit easier to control. It's a bit easier to understand, and then we can pick to roll it out. So if it's already tested, historically, these systems have been long implementation timescales, and by the time they're delivered 2 years after they've started, the business has changed, and then it's very difficult to adopt. I'm a bit old in the tooth to be an agile man. I'm a traditional waterfall man, but the agile mentality is very, very positive. So if it doesn't quite work and you have time to adopt because you're only in one station, and then when you roll it out, it's going to be much more positive. So, very, very small start, but as I say, you've got to take on any journey the first step. We've put in a system that takes away from the printing requirement of our flight packs. We all know if you spend more than one day in cargo, you know how much we thrive on paper. The days of that have to go. So we have a scanning solution. We've cut down our paper by 60, 70, 80%. We have some way to go. There's some efficiencies in the process. We're going to look at asset management. We're going to look at capacity optimization. We're going to look at handling automation, employee well-being, sustainability. There's got to be a better way than just wrapping everything in plastic. And again, but I think the difference of what we're trying to do is do it within an innovation space, and then where it's successful and where other stations will benefit from it, we'll roll it out. The latest news is Donata in Dallas have got drones working this last week. Of course, that's of interest to us. We'll have a look at it. It only works in the bigger sheds, so maybe one for Sydney, and we'll see if we can get that working. If you can get a robot to do your inventory, it's not too long ago that we had people doing lost inventory on double accountancy, double entry book accounting. So those are the things we're looking at. Low-hanging fruit to start with, but definitely optimization, messaging, automated customs. That's the sort of areas we're going to go. And the glue behind all of this, we're going to build a control tower. Data is version 4 oil. And as we roll out our operating system, we'll build a message-based, BI-driven control tower that allows us to see our whole network, what our commercial performance is, what our system adoption, our efficiency, our performance. And as each station comes online, we will enrich the picture. That is my absolute focus at the moment, to get that in place.
Okay, there are several things that you mentioned in the last answer. Let me try to understand some of them. You said up that you would have two innovation centers, likely one in Heathrow, London, and the other one in Sydney. Have you identified your partners? You want that partners more like startups, logistic technology companies in some of the areas that you mentioned. Do you have a plan already?
I have had the conversation with my first two partners, who will be looking at the paper piece, and the second partner will be looking at the capacity optimization. Probably not. Maybe next time we talk, I can share a bit more detail. But yes, I don't need 20 or 30 partners. I need people. I need a different mix. The time has come to bring in the young guns, bring in the startup companies, and specifically for the capacity optimization. We're talking to a very, very interesting company who are working out of Singapore, and quite excited about working with them.
Rory, you also mentioned about setting up the control towers, and today you can have the control towers. You were responsible for creating that control tower at Etihad Cargo before you left Etihad, and it is working perfectly well right now. And the access to control tower should be on your hands with the mobile devices, the apps. What is your vision for the seamless connection, seamless ability for customers to access that information on a device that they hold it in the hand?
Without doubt, that's the vision, that you get to that point, and we'll talk a bit later about attracting talent into the cargo world. So maybe I'll park that part of it. One thing to talk about, Ajay, is that the control tower is a fantastic concept, but it also potentially is a complete disruptor. And hopefully I can get it to work this side of the fence. And when I say a disruptor, is if you can get all of the data where you're in a situation where a shipment is moving along the line of the delivery where you expect it to be, you've disrupted the whole thing, because instead of watching every single piece of cargo, you can now manage the exceptions, and that changes the whole efficiency of your shed and your airline and now the handling. So that's why I do get quite excited about it. It's something that we did very, very successfully, and which I am selling the word. The world of my next control tower is what I'll be talking about over the next few months, and I'm expecting by early November to get the no pressure on my other supplier, but to see the first design of what that's going to look like. So I'm quite excited about that.
When I have conversation with people who are responsible for innovation, digital transformation, something that everyone, irrespective of which organization they represent, something that comes out in the conversation is the technology adoption along with the mindset change. You need a change of the mindset with the people who are involved in that. So what are your efforts to position Menzies as an organization with a strong mindset for technology and eventually attract young, right talent in the years ahead? Because getting the right talent is important. It's also that is how you make our industry, air cargo industries, really sexy, for that you attract the younger, more vibrant talent into our organization, into our industry.
It's been a weakness, it's been a problem. We have a litany of, major investments and major systems that haven't delivered what they want to do. And I think we dream too big, and we try and boil the ocean without, first of all, you have to get people to buy into the vision and believe that what they're doing is better and is an improvement. We have a whole generation who can get more data on their personal phone than we probably have in the whole warehouse. You can still walk around hundreds of warehouses around the world, and you've got desktops that are 15 years old, and that level of equipment is perceived to be a cost-cutting measure. The time has come to move on, and to get them excited that they have data, they have it on mobiles, they have drones in the warehouse. Why not? If you were advertising, wouldn't it be fantastic to advertise an inventory manager to work at Heathrow with Menzies? Part of their qualification is the ability to fly a drone. You would want to interview me just on that person coming in, wouldn't you? Wouldn't that be, there's excitement, there's attraction. But if we're offering them, a 15-year-old desktop where the screen's cracked and they have to go to 7 different systems to get one piece of information, or come and join a control tower and manage remotely all exceptions of cargo that haven't been screened by security, isn't that an environment that somebody would want to come to? Whereas you're giving them a book to say, go and find this pallet because the ETV is broken down and we think it went in there last Wednesday. That's not going to do it. Build the environment and they'll come. So control tower, I want somebody to be able to manage 12 screens and 3 freighters arriving in the next 6 hours and report to the operation about which is the most urgent pallet to be loaded up. I think that's going to attract your mid-20s graduate to think, I might want to come and do this.
Rory, absolutely. I can just visualize getting into a control tower with multiple large screens, just live streaming what happens in the cargo warehouses and the apron, how the freight is getting loaded and the information is available. And if the person moves into a coffee vending machine and still able to access that information in a handheld device, I think that's a perfect, and that's the best way to attract some of the youngest talent in the world today.
And when you come back from your lunch, you're going to be flying a drone for 3 hours because it's Wednesday afternoon and you need to take a full bonded inventory check. So you go and sit in the drone control chair and put a VAR pair of glasses on and fly the drone. I think I'd get a lot of applications for that. In fact, we'll lay a bet that I will show you the job spec within 12 months of doing that.
Perfect, Rory. And I strongly believe that I think the kind of pace that we are setting in terms of technology adoption, just going beyond what that the general word means, I think it's time that the industry will attract the right talent to something that they call is a cargo handling. And when I interviewed Robert, he said We are not into cargo handling. We are into global logistics, global trade. We contribute to that. Rory, on the word that you mentioned earlier, and this is what came out also in my interview with Robert, is the mensification or mensifying standards across all your location, which is an important cargo strategy for Menzies. What do you think will be the role of technology in it? And what are some of the programs that you are rolling out to achieve this common standards across your networks?
Specifically around this, Raj, what I want to focus on is our training. And, as part of me coming on board, it's a significant investment from Menzies. I'm in the process of recruiting 9 people, which is a significant expansion of my current team. And one of those roles is a dedicated training material technical author. And we have to move away from the training of, this screen, then the next screen, and the next screen. And we have to talk about providing the standard training to allow somebody to manage the process using the technology. So once they're intertwined and you're talking about process and technology, you're going to get a far more robust compliance level. Whereas at the moment, they have training to use the system, and then there's training to do dangerous goods. So why don't you deliver training that does dangerous goods using the system and connect them together? And the other critical thing is that core training level across every single station, regardless of whether it's Winnipeg or Amsterdam, is the same. And then just at the top of the cake, any local deviations, you then train those. So that's what I would like to change. I'm absolutely sold on the fact that we have to get the same operating system into every single station. That's both a commercial selling point and allows us to deliver the same level of handling. Now, I'm not saying that it has the same function. A Heathrow or an Amsterdam or a Frankfurt or a Sydney needs more complex technology, but a simplified version of your Nintendo Game Boy does the same job, but you don't have to get the PS version. So, that works as well. Because one doesn't fit all. It has to be scalable.
Rory, we did discuss about how do we change the perception and the public perception about air cargo is of moving boxes and pallets and getting the freighters, aircraft loaded. I think a lot of the perception also changed in the last 18 months because air cargo logistics supply chain became the trending words and expressions. Even US President Biden's last night, yesterday's speech to some of the shipping executives is he did make a mention about, have you heard about the word called supply chain? Supply chain has become really important. It's about the perception as we use more and more technology to gather data, and there's a lot of data being gathered. From insights, we move into actionable part. How would you, as someone who heads the technology division at Menzies, would want to change that perception of from mere cargo handling into becoming someone who is really part of a global trade, global logistics?
So we're back to perception, and cargo is perceived as being a big black box that's moved around, and air cargo specifically. But suddenly, for the last 18 months, cargo and logistics has been on the front pages, the front pages of every newspaper in every country. So as you said, last night, the US president announced that his 2 biggest container ports will run 24/7. And, that is the reality that they do anyway. It's a little bit, there's nothing quite as brutal as a handling shed, which is very busy. But, where you have to head with this is people are used to getting their Amazon package tomorrow. And I think there is going to be a blending of the air cargo that's coming in, all of the millions of dollars investment that the integrators have had to allow you to do the last mile. The last mile and cracking that turns it into logistics. And I think that distance gets closer and closer and closer, driven by data. And I think, we are at a tipping point where the paranoia of everybody saying, I'm not going to do electronic messaging because somebody might know who my consignee is and the shipper will go after them. You look at the banks have been doing XML since the 1970s or 80s at least. So all of those stakeholders, I think, will start to accept that, I don't even want to say the word because it's taken so long, but e-airway bill, but the whole EDI messaging is going to move to rich messaging, and everybody will be able to accelerate things because they're looking at rich data. And so the end consumer, will be able to see, regardless of the integrator or the cargo, whereabouts in the chain that piece level item is. And I think that will move the dial to a degree.
Rory, let's come to one of the biggest S that you talked about, that's sustainability. And do you think technology application could be deployed to address sustainability goals? And I say sustainability, it's about people, planet, and profit.
Without a doubt, there is, you asked the question and I said, I think the time has come about data and doing the last mile, but sustainability, we're past the point of the time. Every single piece of information you look at, we have to do something about it. And I think there is no doubt technology plays a part in that, but I think there are some fundamental choices that the industry has to make. So, once you've made a decision that every single bit of GSE will become electric, technology can do a piece by making, the ability to power that up easier by, how do we manage technology and batteries? How do we manage charging stations? How do we manage wireless charging? The technology will drive all of that, but I think it's at a point where it's saying, do we step off the cliff to the left or to the right? But the step has to happen, and it has to happen sooner rather than later.
Okay, the other point that we also touched upon earlier was the collaboration partnerships. You said about the supplier-vendor relationship have really changed. Now it is all about striking or creating partnership. So what do you think is the role of collaboration and cargo community systems to create smart cargo facilities of the future to deal with increasing volumes of special cargo and e-commerce? We don't know what is the next cargo commodity that would be coming through your warehouses and that would be carried in the freighters and the aeroplanes.
We don't know what it is, but the answer to that, without a shadow of doubt, is data. Sharing the data as early as possible so that you can see what's coming. If you're talking about world-class airline community systems, the work that was done in Brussels is incredible. That everybody and linking in not just the airline community, but having efficient airside trucking management systems is all driven by data, letting them know their slot, their time. And then suddenly, just by the fact that you're managing that much better, you don't have a lorry outside your facility for 7 hours with its engine on, pumping out carbon monoxide, because it knows it can come at 1 o'clock, that it will be there and it will be in and out. So again, the oil is completely the data that makes that happen. And those two will come together and accelerate, and everybody will start to share that information. There are models out there, but every actor or stakeholder in the chain has a problem with trust about their information, don't they? And that's historically what has to be overcome.
What are those important technology trends that you, as an individual, as someone who heads the cargo technology division and Menzies, which you very closely follow and you think they could come very relevant and useful in the future for your operations?
I think if you look at the incredible progress that the platforms have made on the airline side. You know, you look at Cargo One. You know, 2 years ago, they were just a startup company who had a fantastic idea. They did some work with one of the airlines. They had some fantastic technology. You know, look at that user interface, and it's got customer written all over it. You know, we have to become customer centric. We have to work out which platforms that we're going to use. And we have to, you know, much more efficiently be able to transmit and agree that data to allow it to flow. Because, you know, I think the late 90s of offshoring your supply chain is going to change very, very quickly. And understanding a nearshoring model where you have a lot more warehouses locally, so that the local transition from coming into a warehouse at an airport and then going onto the road or rail transport network, and the integration of that to then go to a local warehouse, I think will grow incredibly. You know, I think countries will want to nearshore their medical PPE. I think they'll want to nearshore. I think the food chain, the food supply, and the perishables will be a fascinating development. And then, you know, what's the climate going to drive? Where is this sustainability? How are we going to fix that problem? And you know, the logistics when it isn't working, suddenly you wake up and you're not sure. You're not sure if it's why is there no fresh fruit in the supermarket on Saturday when I want to go and I wanted to go and buy something. It wasn't there, and it wasn't there because that chain is broken, because there's a problem in Spain. And the food is there, but we can't physically move it because there aren't any lorry drivers in the UK. You know, that has to get fixed, and that security of that digital chain has to be maintained. And I think, you know, it will become far more localized. I wouldn't say you've heard it here first, but I think that's where the opinion is going. Drones will be the next thing.
Rory, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Anytime, always a pleasure. Thank you very much to you as well.
That was Rory Fidler, Vice President Cargo Technology at Menzies Aviation. I hope you enjoyed watching this interview. Give us a like and share this video with your friends and colleagues. Also, if you are not a subscriber of our YouTube channel, please do subscribe now and click the bell icon so that you do not miss any of our new videos. Join me next Thursday as I bring you a new guest in a fresh episode of Logistic Tech Dialogues presented by Kale Logistics Solutions. Until next Thursday, take good care and be safe. Thanks for watching.